This is Linda Redford. Glad to have everyone on today. It looks like we've got quite a group on today. I'm going to go ahead and introduce Dr. Rebecca Banks, who's from the School of Social Work at St. Louis University. She's an associate clinical professor at St. Louis University School of Social Work, where she teaches the health and mental health concentration and is faculty liaison for the field education. For the past 5 years, she's also been the assistant director for the SLU Center for Interprofessional Education. I'll go ahead also, and presenting with her today is Irma Rubling. Irma is the assistant professor and past chair of the Department of Physical Therapy at St. Louis University, and since 1997 she's been active in numerous interprofessional education activities at St. Louis University and was appointed as director of the interprofessional education in 2006 and leads the SLU Center for Interprofessional Education. So we're really happy to have them on today. After their presentation, I will introduce our team here at the University of Kansas Medical Center, who will also be presenting. So Rebecca, it's all yours.
Okay, thank you, Linda. Irma and I are speaking to you today from the Center for Interprofessional Education and Research, located in a newly renovated education union on the Health Science campus of St. Louis University. The IPE program has just completed its 7th year at St. Louis University. It's staffed by a full-time director, 2 half-time assistant directors, 2 full-time support staff, and a part-time research assistant. In addition, during this past academic year, we've had 78 faculty who have participated at some level in our program. These are both regular and adjunct faculty, and we enrolled 2,950 students in various IPE courses and seminars. It's no wonder that as we're finishing this final semester of the year that we're a little tired. At the end of this session, we anticipate you will be able to, first of all, discuss the implementation of learning about, from, and with each other in IPE learning activities. Secondly, identify various types of learning experiences that promote achievement of IPE competencies. And third, to identify opportunities and challenges of IPE. Our agenda for this presentation is for Irma to briefly explain how the program got its start and then describe the basis for its framework. And I just want to add to the introduction of Irma because Irma is the person who had the vision for this program years ago, and she also had the dedication and leadership abilities to make it happen. After Irma has gone over the framework, we will then discuss the specifics of our program. So I'm now going to switch or give the headphones to Irma.
Thank you very much, Rebecca. It's my pleasure to be able to have this opportunity to speak with folks interested in interprofessional education. I think the background and rationale for interprofessional education programs has developed over the years, and I hope that as we begin the discussion of this framework and background, it will set up for the discussion of the actual IPE activities that follow. I think that some of the more recent reports, presentations, and research have come out, as they have come out, have added to and supported and reinforced interprofessional education and collaborative practice. And I believe, importantly, have helped to direct us to the perspective of organizations and healthcare systems and overall healthcare delivery. So from the perspective of healthcare delivery, I think particularly salient was the identification of certain paradigm shifts that, to my knowledge, was first discussed by Dr. Carol Eschenbrenner, who, as many of you know, is Vice President with the American Association of Medical Colleges. But I think there have been others who have picked up on this. So that the paradigm shift that she and others have described is the fact that healthcare is turning sort of from practitioner-centered practice to patient-centered practice, from practitioner autonomy to team collaboration, from a focus on illness and cure to a focus on health promotion, from a passive patient role to involved patients and families, and from acute and episodic care to care for chronic conditions. So this struck me as really sort of capsulizing the direction that healthcare has turned in the last in the last couple of decades, really, and I think we're now beginning to recognize. Along these lines also, I think we're interested in workforce, and the World Health Organization published their framework for action for interprofessional education and collaborative care in 2010. And they identified the need for a collaborative, practice-ready workforce. And that was a worker that would have learned how to work in an interprofessional team and be competent to do so. And I think they further highlighted, because the World Health Organization has been involved in interprofessional care for practice for education and education for several decades, and has come to the conclusion that there really is sufficient evidence now to indicate that effective interprofessional education enables effective clinical practice. I think another important report, which I think probably has received less notice, is a Lancet Commission report, where a group of 20 professional and academic leaders from diverse countries came together to develop a shared vision and a common strategy for education in medicine, nursing, and other health professions that would reach beyond the confines of the silos of individual professions. And in doing so, they started with taking a historical perspective that led them to identify sort of 3 generations of educational reforms that they felt characterized progress in this area during the past century. So beginning in the early part of the 20th century are what they call the first generation. We were primarily concerned with a science-based curriculum. Mid-century are the second generation of healthcare education or educational reforms. We turned to problem-based instructional innovations. And in the third generation, which is we're currently engaged in, we now need to consider systems-based curriculum to help improve the performance of the healthcare system by adapting core competencies, professional competencies, to specific contexts. In this process, the commission proposed this vision, which again calls for all health professionals to be educated with knowledge and the ability to engage in critical reasoning, ethical conduct, so that they could be competent in participating in patient and population-centered healthcare system as members of a collaborative team. I think the other important point that came out of this was that this vision is guided by 2 proposed outcomes. And as they put it, in terms of the first outcome would be transformative learning, and the second outcome would be interdependence. And these are really process outcomes. And as they defined transformative learning, it is about developing leadership attributes, and its purpose is to produce enlightened change agents. Jack Mesereau, who's probably one of the premier researchers and scholars in learning and describing transformative learning, further explained it to say that it occurs when individuals assess their assumptions, their beliefs, their values, and determine changes in understanding of themselves, their values, and their beliefs. And this provides teachers with the opportunity to assist learners in practicing, in the practice of examining and discussing the various points of views that they have been exposed to. Secondly, is interdependence. And the Lancet Commission report identified interdependence as ways in which various components interact with each other without presupposing that they are equal. Now, Danielle Damore, who's written extensively in interprofessional education literature, also talked about interdependence in 2 articles that were published, she published, and others published in 2005, in which she defines interdependence as mutual dependence rather than autonomy, and this arises from the common desire to address patients' needs. She further describes collaboration as including concepts of shared responsibilities, shared decision-making, values, and planning, and interventions and sharing of professional perspectives. Also, more recently, and the Interprofessional Education Collaborative expert panel proposed a set of common core competencies for interprofessional collaborative care. And these have been widely adopted and accepted, and now many educational programs are looking for guidance for these competencies and are, in fact, comparing their competencies with these core competencies of interprofessional collaborative care. And they, just to describe them briefly, values and ethics for interprofessional practice is the first domain, and these include learning outcome statements that would address work with individuals from other professions to maintain a climate of mutual respect and shared values. The roles and responsibilities for collaborative practice would include using knowledge of roles of other professions and in your own profession to appropriately address the health care needs of patients and populations that you're serving. Interprofessional communication includes communicating with families, patients, communities, and other health professions in a responsive and responsible way that will support a team approach to maintaining health and the treatment of diseases. Finally, interprofessional teamwork and team-based care apply relationship building values and the principles of team dynamics to perform efficiently and effectively as different team roles and to plan and deliver patient and population-centered care. So with this kind of background in terms of what's happening in the field of interprofessional education, St. Louis University has continued to review and update the curriculum, and so we have also developed competency domains even previous to the national set of competencies, but we have actually compared with those competencies and believe that we are substantially consistent in our approach to the learning outcomes that we are addressing. So interprofessional practice and patient-centered care are the outcomes that are the competency areas that are really the heart of interprofessional education that leads to interprofessional practice. The wellness, patient safety and quality of care, and social justice competency domains address issues that are very significant in healthcare today and are among the primary driving forces for having interprofessional education and interprofessional practice that will actually improve the quality of patient care. So I won't go into the actual definitions that we have, but I think they pretty much go along with what is commonly identified with those topics. Having identified the competency domains, established a goal of interprofessional education, which is to prepare students with knowledge, attitudes, and skills of interprofessional practice which lead to interprofessional patient and client-centered care, optimal individual patient health outcomes, improvement in community-level health, effective and efficient delivery of healthcare services, and advocacy for improvement of health and health services. So with these, what we were led next to looking at what are the actual premises, our assumptions and beliefs that we would apply to the actual implementation of curriculum and the courses, and how they would be arranged in the curriculum. So just to name the 5 of them that we have, we believe that IPE should occur as early as possible in the professional curriculum. We believe that embedding IPE within existing curricula allows aspects of patient-centered care and interprofessional team practice to be an expected part of professional practice. That interprofessional collaborative practice occurs with deliberate planning and implementation of learning and practice. It doesn't just occur by goodwill or without some intentionality. And interprofessional education must have interactive learning experiences, both didactic and practical, that include critical reflection. Critical reflection is really a crucial element of interprofessional education and practice. And finally, development of interprofessional education is a collaborative, integrative process between a mix of interprofessional educators and collaborators. So having come through this, it then became apparent that we really would benefit by defining what specifically an interprofessional education learning experience would be. And we took after the commonly used definition of interprofessional education that is adopted by the World Health Organization and several other organizations internationally. That is, that interprofessional education occurs when 2 or more professions learn about, from, and with each other to improve collaboration and the quality of care. So if that's what we are after, and we have these particular assumptions, these goals, these outcomes that we're looking for, we are developing learning activities that are characterized by occurring when students represent multiple professions within the experience. The experience are developed, planned, and taught by an interprofessional mix of faculty. The objectives and content include demonstrations of achievement of interprofessional competencies. The pedagogy includes interactive teamwork, team discussions, collaboration on projects, and the performance evaluation includes assessment of growth in interprofessional competencies. So that is sort of the background and the framework upon which our learning experiences are developed. Through this process, we've come to view our curriculum as grounded in social interaction and reflective learning, and think that it reflects our commitment that learning and working together produce the best health outcomes. So with that background, I'm happy to turn this back to Rebecca, who will be talking about actually what we do.
Thanks, Irma. Okay, in the SLU IPE program, there are 2 different tracks. The undergraduate track started in 2006. That track begins when students are freshmen in the College of Nursing or the Doisy College of Health Sciences, and it provides a concentration in interprofessional practice. Professions included are occupational therapy, physical therapy, athletic training, nursing, integrative medical sciences or investigative medical sciences, nutrition and dietetics, radiation therapy, and 2 new professions to the College of Health Sciences, magnetic resonance imaging and molecular imaging and therapeutics. The post-baccalaureate track began in 2008 and includes students from 7 different professions, including medicine, nursing, physician assistant, pharmacy, social work, physical therapy, and occupational therapy. In the undergraduate track, courses are embedded throughout the curriculum. There are 4 courses and with 9 credits that make up the concentration. The concentration is required of students enrolled in the School of Nursing and in the Doisy College of Health Sciences. Students are assigned to interprofessional teams of 4 to 5 students in each of the courses. And in the fall of 2013, a minor in interprofessional practice will be offered that include 3 additional courses to those courses that I've mentioned in the concentration. And those additional courses are healthcare ethics, interprofessional outcomes research, and interprofessional clinical practicum. These are the courses that are included currently in the concentration. The first is an introduction to interprofessional healthcare, and that's offered for 1 credit. And again, that's taken by freshmen when they first arrive on campus. The second course is healthcare systems and health promotion for 3 credits, and I'm going to talk about the next 3 courses in more detail in just a few minutes. So healthcare system and health promotion for 3 credits. An applied decision-making and interprofessional practice course for 3 credits. And the final course in the curriculum is an integrated interprofessional practicum experience for 2 credits. In addition, we have a professional grand rounds that's held twice each semester, and this is an interprofessional team of faculty who simulate a team meeting where a case is discussed that the faculty has developed. The goal of the Grand Rounds is to demonstrate the role, knowledge base, and expertise of each profession on the team as the case is being discussed. On some occasions, we've invited practitioners from the community to participate and sometimes have a standardized patient playing the role of either a patient or family members. One of our main challenges is that our team is too collegial and agreeable, and sometimes we have to work at creating some conflict or disagreement because we know that's reality. Leadership of the team meetings varies depending on what seems most appropriate for the case that we are discussing. Oops. The baccalaureate track consists of a modular 6-session interprofessional team seminar, or IPTS. Students who participate are medical students, accelerated nursing students, physician assistant students, students in the MSW program, pharmacy students, professional level physical therapy students, and students from occupational therapy. The interprofessional team seminar includes 6 sessions. At least, let's see, there's the introduction to communication and patient safety, discussion of interprofessional teams and professional education and roles and responsibilities in patient care. There are case-based discussions, and then we always try to develop activities that align with the interprofessional educational competencies. Students that are enrolled in IPTS are grouped into interprofessional teams of 12 to 15 students each with a faculty facilitator. And again, the teams meet 6 times during the academic year or about once a month. Oops, what happened? Skipped a few slides, I think, or we're missing a slide there too. Okay. That's our basic structure. And now I want to describe some of the teamwork experiences that students have that contribute to transformative learning and interdependence that Irma talked about earlier. In all IPE courses, and I think we've already said this, but just to emphasize, in all IPE courses, students are assigned to and sit with a team for the entire semester. In the Introduction to Interprofessional Healthcare course, students are introduced to professional roles and effective teamwork attributes. They work together to develop a course project, and the project that they develop is a consumer brochure on a health topic. They are required to meet as a team outside of class to develop and complete the project and also to discuss the stage of their team development. And then individually they write and submit weekly journal entries reflecting on teamwork and the development of team process. As we've said earlier, critical reflection is very much a part of each IPE course. And I wanted to share some quotes with you from students' reflections. This is a quote from a student in the introductory course. She starts out by saying, "At this meeting we held each other accountable for none of us being quite finished writing up our individual sections. We promised each other to have all of our sections finished by the next meeting." She then goes on to talk about the team stage of development and the phase of collaboration. In the Healthcare System and Health Promotion course, students study healthcare issues and policies regarding cost, access and quality, and healthcare improvement strategies, including health promotion and initiatives to improve healthcare processes. Team activities include in-class team discussions and reports, and a team project to develop a health promotion strategy for an age-specific population. This is a picture of discussion times during this course. The students are in a large auditorium, state-of-the-art auditorium in our education union, and they often split up into their teams for discussions during each class. In the Applied Decision-Making course, or the Applied Decision-Making in Interprofessional Practice course, students apply patient-centered and colleague relationship principles in a case-based learning environment. In addition to the lectures, students are divided into small discussion groups with a faculty facilitator. Each group consists of 5 or 6 interprofessional teams, and there are 4 or 5 students on each of these teams. Small group activities include team discussion and determination of best patient-centered care options in an approach for a specific case scenario. They plan and interview standardized patients to learn needed information about circumstances that impact patients' involvement and implementation of health care, and they complete personal reflections on these experiences. This is another quote from a student reflection on a case that involved patient confidentiality, and I'm just going to highlight the last part of this quotation. "This case study allowed me to see the importance of patient-centered care in action. It also allowed me to apply principles of decision-making to a real-life scenario, which will help me make ethically informed choices in the future." The final course in the concentration in the undergraduate curriculum is a community-based practicum experience. Interprofessional student teams partner, or actually they're assigned to and then partner with community agencies to first of all learn about the agency and the community that it serves, to identify concerns or needs of the agency that are related to health promotion or wellness, to develop and implement a specific project that addresses the identified need utilizing the knowledge and expertise of each team member. They summarize the project implementation and outcome in a formal poster presentation, and of course reflection is important in this course as well, so they reflect on teamwork and learning from the project and its outcome. And this is a quote from, well, wait a minute, this is first of all, this is a quote, sorry. This is a quote from one of the students' reflections talking about her team's experience when they offered an exercise program in a homeless shelter for pregnant women. "They seemed at first to be hesitant to be involved or even present for the lesson, but as we showed our excitement about the subject and solicited the ladies' input, they really appreciated and were impacted by the session. It was neat to see how each profession used their knowledge and skills to impact the women on a practical level. It was not simply medical professions speaking at a group of people about what they should do, but rather it was a group of human beings sharing their lives and experiences with one another." As I said before, the practicum experience concludes with a poster session where each team presents its project, and the posters include descriptions of the settings, project description, the community outcomes, a reflection, a team reflection, possible future actions to serve the community, and the rationale or evidence or program model for their project. This is another team at the project or at the poster presentation explaining its whoop, keep hitting the wrong button, sorry. Another team explaining its project and poster to Dr. Robert Haney, who's the Associate Dean for the Medical School. He's in the right-hand corner of your slide. Dr. Haney is a staunch supporter of IPE and the person to whom we report. He always attends the poster's presentation each semester to show his interest and his support. These are some of the teamwork experiences in the Interprofessional Team Seminar. In at least 2 sessions, students review chart notes, identify additional information needed, identify the role for each professional, prioritize the plan used based on safety and outcome goals, share decision-making, and care plan negotiation. In another session, students assess multiple system issues involved in patient safety and care. And in the final session, students share an experience that they've had during a clinical rotation or practicum where they observed a good example of interprofessional collaboration or one that did not go so well. They then discuss as a team why it seemed to work well if it did, or what needed to be done if it didn't work well to improve the outcome for the patient. And this is a reflection, again, from one of the students in the Interprofessional Team Seminar. I'm just going to read a couple of sentences. The first sentence, I think that the experience of IPTS discussions and reflection on clinical application will better help me to share responsibility with other members of the healthcare team. And then toward the end, it is easy to overlook the many contributions, some subtle and some obvious, that other healthcare providers contribute in bettering the care for our patients. This experience, in effect, made me more aware of the team aspect of healthcare, which will influence me very much in the future. And there was another quotation regarding communication, which I'm going to skip over here. This is a picture of a group of students in the Interprofessional Team Seminar meeting with their facilitator, who happens to be in this slide, who happens to be the director of the physical therapy department, and he's on the far right-hand side, the guy with the slightly balding head. In our IPE program, there are both challenges and opportunities. Some of the challenges occur at the organizational level. Of course, we're always trying to recruit faculty and offer faculty development, but I must say that even though this is a challenge, sometimes we have a wonderful faculty who are very devoted and loyal to interprofessional education. Scheduling is always an issue. We're fortunate in that there is time set aside in the schedules for the nursing students and also in the College of Health Sciences for interprofessional activities. That helps a great deal in scheduling the courses, but it's still sometimes a challenge for faculty just to get together to work on a syllabus or to plan a course session. Students whine all the time about how difficult it is for them to get together and to find times when they can work and meet and work on their projects. It's a challenge, but somehow we all make it work. And then another challenge, organizational challenge, is that sometimes the perspectives on what IPE is varies because we have so many people involved. Trying to keep everyone on the same page can be a challenge. And then there are challenges in our healthcare system. The current system of healthcare has embedded power differences across professions. I think we're all aware of that. Students sometimes challenge us about how realistic the principles of IPE collaborative practice are because they are already aware of the hierarchy that exists in so many practice settings. And then, of course, the uncertainty regarding potential for reimbursement models for interprofessional practice. While there are many challenges, there are lots of opportunities for everyone that's involved, including students. There's opportunity for students to experience best practice, to have enhanced focus on patient client-centered care and improved health outcomes, and increased comfort level with interprofessional teams. They learn to talk and work with each other and to understand and respect each other. There are lots of opportunities also for faculty involved in IPE. And again, we have so many loyal faculty who go above and beyond the call of duty. There's interprofessional collaboration among faculty and students. They learn more about other professions. This has been one of the benefits for me personally, is that I have learned in depth about so many other professions I didn't really know about. They share research. Many faculty have become involved in assessment of IPE outcomes and have made presentations and published articles related to IPE. There's mentoring of new faculty, and there's the satisfaction of contributing to the education of students, leading to improved patient care and health outcomes. Irma and I last week received an email from a nursing faculty who taught in the Applied Decision-Making course during her first year at SLU, and she just now completed her second year. And I'm just going to read an excerpt from that email because I think it sums up how faculty feel about IPE. She said, "I was talking at a meeting today about the most meaningful experiences of my first 2 years at SLU and got teary-eyed talking about IPE, the program, you all, and how much your collegiality and friendship mean to me. IPE is really, really special, and I wanted you to know that. Anyway, think of me when you all need help in the fall." And finally, there are opportunities for the healthcare system resulting from interprofessional practice. Health professionals working together at the top of their knowledge and skill, working as a team, providing the right care for the patient when it's needed, and change in delivery of care that it can accomplish optimal patient outcomes. An appropriate quote to end this presentation is from Helen Keller, and there's actually a plaque hanging in our office with this quote. "Alone we can do so little. Together we can do so much." Thank you.
I want to introduce first Dr. Janaszewski from our Department of Family Medicine is going to be presenting today. And has with her some of the interprofessional team of faculty here at the University of Kansas Medical Center who work in the family medicine clinic with her, and Drs. Jim Kleppel to the far left, Dr. Sarah Schrader, and Dr. Chris Phillips, who's from our School of Nursing. Dr. Kleppel and Dr. Schrader are from our School of Pharmacy. So I'm going to turn it over to Jana, and then the other people here will be available to answer questions that any of you might have.
Okay, thank you for having us today. As Dr. Redford had said, we're going to talk about the Interprofessional Teaching Clinic today. The subtitle is IPE at POC, which alludes to the fact that we're getting to do interprofessional education at the point of care. I'm not going to spend a lot of time providing the background information on the interprofessional education competencies, primarily because your previous presenters did such a fantastic job building that background for you. But I did want to highlight the fact that we're using, indeed, the very same definition, the World Health Organization definition, when we're thinking about how we're bringing professions together in the context of the clinical context for the sake of collaboration. I noticed last night when I was reviewing the slides that I have forgotten to put my citation here for this wonderful diagram. I use this all the time, so I'm sure the slides will be shared with you, and I will add the citation because I want you to be able to refer to this slide if you find it useful, and maybe in a paper or a presentation that you will give. But this slide is a wonderful image of the steps that need to be taken as we integrate interprofessional education into our practice environments with learners. And so I will come back to this slide later on and talk about the assessment needs and the evaluative methods that we're using as we march up this ladder toward our goals. Very quickly, I wanted to share with you how we got started here at KUMC. Primarily, this was a grassroots activity. a lot of folks came to the table interested in getting things going. We had invested deans in medicine, pharmacy, and nursing. We had students interested in simulation and IPE. Everything was pulled together at a retreat. That was kind of like the catalyst that brought a lot of the folks interested who didn't actually know each other until they came to the retreat and realized they had the same goals and values and wanted to bring IPE into the more formalized curriculum at KU. And from that point, things have just moved forward, and now we have the development, the Center for Interprofessional Education and Simulation, and a lot of us are working in many different ways in bringing IPE not just to the clinical environment, but also into didactics, PBLs, etc. So today I'm primarily going to talk about the Interprofessional Teaching Clinic and how we got started. And this is an example of IPE, and I think it's a nice, it follows nicely from the presentation before, because it shows that we are trying to bring a lot of those foundational concepts into what we do with our students and our patients. So first of all, what we did is we took a clinical experience that was existing, and that was our student clinic. And in family medicine, we've had a student clinic historically that allows students to really have autonomy and take responsibility for the patient interaction. And so we used that clinical experience and we broadened it and invited pharmacy and nursing to the table with us. From the perspective of nursing and pharmacy, they added IPTC as a clinical site where their students could come and rotate. And then from the perspective of physical therapy, they used IPTC as a place where their students could volunteer and experience something different. And that was the first step as they moved toward making it more of a formalized part of their curriculum. The other thing that we did is thought about carefully what kind of learner, and we decided on senior learners so that they were all around the same level. Of course, we needed faculty champions, and my colleagues that I invited today are faculty champions underscored that multiple times, and so it's really important to have them here today to field your questions and really because we're in this together. And we all have to make this happen in our separate silos, and then to break the silos down, it's the relationships that we've built together that make the educational opportunities occur. And then planning and flexibility, we laugh about this a lot, but honestly, we've all learned that you have to be incredibly flexible. The schedule kind of comes together in layers because nothing is really synchronized. And we built a Google Calendar in order to be able to see each of our schedules and layer them on top of each other and then peel them away so that at any one point in time we know who will be in the teaching clinic by looking at our calendar instead of trying to remember that, because that wouldn't happen. So the Google Calendar has allowed us to have a schedule, but I can tell you we decided we were not going to wait for synchronized curriculum. We were just going to make our own schedule and make it work. And then a little bit more historical background. The Interprofessional Teaching Clinic, we established it about 2 years ago, and I do have a link on here. I'm not going to show it during this presentation, but when you go back to the PowerPoint, you're welcome to watch it. It's a YouTube video, and it was actually built by our students, and it nicely shows you kind of how the day works, all the students that are involved, and how we touch the lives of our patients. So there's a wonderful video that gives an overview of the clinic. Again, back to senior learners, who's at the table. Generally, we have 4 fourth-year nursing, 4 sixth-year pharmacy, 4 third-year medical. When possible, we have a physical therapy student or 2. And they're there on a volunteer basis currently, and then we have law students by consult. These are all of our faculty, and I did put emails so that you're welcome to email any of us with questions. So everyone's email is laid out there. I did not mention up to this point psychology. We do have a psychologist who works with us on Tuesday and Wednesday morning. She doesn't have any learners with her yet, but she does participate in the interprofessional environment, and we are looking at including social work and health information management students. But those, I only have the law and the psychology faculty added here to the ones that I'd already mentioned before. So then how does this work, the logistics? What happens is the patients are scheduled to see their primary care provider, which would be me or one of my family medicine colleagues, and about 6 to 8 patients are scheduled per half day with each of their physician. And I have a schedule here so you can kind of see how it looks over the course of a week. Every morning of the week, we have medicine and pharmacy, and on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, we're lucky to have medicine, pharmacy, and nursing. And then we also have medicine and pharmacy on Wednesday afternoons. So essentially, we have an interprofessional teaching clinic 6 half days of a week. And then, as I've already said, PT participates about half a day every now and then when they have a student that's interested on a volunteer basis. What do our visits look like? They look like the visits that you would see at a primary care clinic. We have acute complaints, primarily chronic complaints, and we do preventive care. And a lot of times all those things are layered over one another. How do the teams approach the visit? We encourage them to see the patients as a team. So medicine, pharmacy, and nursing all go into the patient encounter together. We encourage them to huddle before the encounter and look at the chart together, think about the problems, how they want to address the problems, what roles each of them wants to play, and responsibilities. Then they go into the encounter and work through that in front of the patient as a team. And then they present to faculty, and that would include medicine and pharmacy and nursing after the visit, and they formulate an assessment and plan. And soon we're going to be experimenting with rotating responsibility for patient presentation. Historically, that's been the responsibility of the medical student, but I think what we're going to try, and I might pilot this through the encouragement of my pharmacy faculty, to one day have pharmacy student present, and then let them rotate nursing student and medical student, just to see what it's like for each of our professional players to share that information and work through it with the faculty at hand. So I think that's going to be an exciting change that we're going to add. Here's an anecdote of kind of how things started out. When we started 2 years ago, we had very prescriptive notions of what roles each student would play. And over time, actually very quickly, we learned from the students they did not want us to tell them how to approach the patient. They wanted to figure that out with each other, and they wanted their roles to be more fluid and to allow for redundancy. They feel like they learned from redundancy. So we listened. This is what we gave them when they started out, and it looks ridiculous now that I look back on it, that each kind of visit would have a particular role for each particular profession. And we were essentially trying to think about scope of practice and particular roles the profession might take more often than not. But the students revised this for us, and this is what they created. They said this is all that they needed. They just needed to have the patient in the center. They needed to come together around the patient and figure out what it is the patient needed today, and let their roles then, essentially, roles are born from that. And we were very pleased with their revision of that very messy scheme that we had come up with initially. And what's nice is they put the patient smack dab in the middle. so wherever the patient belongs. But they got that, they figured that out immediately, that is the key for really sorting out roles and responsibilities. Key ingredients, I've already said a number of these things, but I wanted to highlight them. Leadership, and it really began as a grassroots activity, but we also had buy-in from important invested deans. And then the IPE champions, and you'll meet 3 of them that are here today with me, and you can ask questions of them, but they really champion the cause. The other key ingredient for developing this clinic was actually having a site that could accommodate learners, that had already been accommodating learners, and that could be flexible enough to accommodate learners in whatever way their particular profession needed at that time to make IPE and practice, the practice part happen. Funding, I have a number of quotation marks there. We haven't had any specific funding for this activity, but we do have buy-in from our departments and our schools because they pay for the time that we spend with our students in this clinic. So that's really important to thank them for that. And then the schedule, I did include a link to the Google Calendar so you can actually see what the calendar looks like that we ended up building so that we all know when we're going to be in clinic, and it helps us plan long term. Then some of the challenges, and I did allude to this earlier, but I wanted to summarize these as well. And I bet there are other challenges my colleagues could speak of. So if that's a question you have, please do ask it. Time. One of the challenges I've experienced is when you have an interprofessional group of students, they do so much thinking for our patients, and there's so much work to be done that they can do together as a team. Our 20-minute clinic visits don't do them justice. So the time piece has been a real challenge. And we are working with health information management, and we hopefully will have some ideas soon for workflow to improve how we schedule our patients and how we're setting up the clinic so that the flow works and that our patients that aren't scheduled for the second half of the morning aren't waiting for an hour or two. So time has been a challenge. Roles. I would say that was more of a challenge for us, and I went through with you the changes that we made. We had very prescriptive sense of the roles, and we disbanded early on and allowed that to be much more fluid in a learning environment. And I think that's been a good thing. However, I can tell you that some students, especially I'll speak to medical students, by about halfway through their 3rd year, they come into this environment and they want to be told what role they're going to play because they're being evaluated, and it's very anxiety producing. Early on, however, in the beginning of the 3rd year, the medical students tend to be very fresh and very open to experimenting in this regard. But halfway through the year, there can be some resistance and some real concern about wanting to know where the line is. And then that feeds into the last piece here, the redundancy. That is actually a benefit in a way, because what we have found is that the students actually gain tremendous respect for each other's profession, because they learn how much training other professions have had that is common to their own training, and that they learn that there's a lot of overlap between their scopes and what they can offer the patient. And so that has actually fed right into building respect and value for other professions at the table. So it's been a challenge because sometimes students don't quite know what their role is, especially if they have a similar set of skills and knowledge. But they sort that out over time, and I think in that they gain great respect for each other. So I hope that made some sense. Here's back to the ladder. I just want to highlight some things here that are key. So is this making a difference? Because we always have to come back and think about assessment and outcomes. And so over here I have some arrows, and those highlight what it is we are doing or looking at. And currently we're using the Readiness for Interprofessional Learning scale to look at attitudes. We just got a small grant for an interprofessional standardized patient, and that links right into the development of knowledge and skills that come from collaborating. And so we hope we're going to be able to see perhaps a change in how students work as teams because of their experience with a standardized patient early on, before they're even seeing patients in the clinic. And then our Dr. Sarah Schrader, our pharmacist who works with us, she is actually seeing patients in our clinic as a provider, particularly diabetes patients. And so that points right here to wider changes in the organization and delivery of care. We're very pleased that we're able to provide a space for her to do her thing. And then the very top here is patient satisfaction. We have looked at patient satisfaction, trying to understand whether these changes in our learning environments are impacting our patients in terms of their health outcomes. And we looked in particular at their satisfaction with the clinic. A couple more things. I wanted to give an example of the ripples and some of the data because I thought that might give you closure if you're asking yourself, what does this mean for the students? And this scale really lays out the fact that we have been giving the ripples before and after their exposure to the clinic. Again, we gave the ripples to all of the different professions involved. And I wanted to give you a little flavor of the ripples. There's 3 subscales: teamwork and collaboration. And this is an example of one of the statements. Shared learning will help me understand my own limitations. And they rate their agreement with that statement on a 5-point Likert scale. Since the professional identity subscale, when all is said and done, is reversed, because essentially it's negatively worded. The function of nurses and therapists is mainly to provide support for doctors. And then the patient-centeredness subscale is the 3rd, and here's an example. Establishing trust with my patients is important to me. And so this particular survey we've been using for 2 years, but it's the data from this last year, 2012-2013, that I'm going to share with you real quickly. First of all, we had not just about, a total of 134 students fall to this spring. Response rate was 71%, and the sample of data for the pre and post test was similar to the total proportions of each school. So our sample is essentially representative of our sample of pre and post data is representative of our total sample. Here is one of our important findings. And what we see is that for all of the subscales, there's some significant differences for all respondents, and that's everyone together. So that would be medicine, pharmacy, nursing, physical therapy, law, and 2 HIM students. And so that's everyone in one pot. And so teamwork, professional identity, and patient-centeredness. We were pleased to see this. We weren't necessarily surprised. However, the initial ratings of the students was quite high, so we were unsure whether we would actually see an improvement because students in general scored positively on this survey, but we did see a nudge in the right direction along all subscales. And other important findings, nursing was significantly different from medicine on the pretest for professional identity. So in terms of their view of other professions, they have a much more positive view, and we saw that difference with medicine in particular. And then nursing was also significantly different from medicine post-test for teamwork and patient-centeredness. So even though medicine improved, nursing even more so, even though they were quite positive from the get-go. Looking forward, just to kind of think beyond what we're doing right now, we are all supporting our colleagues in geriatrics. They are building their own geriatric interprofessional teaching clinic, and that will be starting in July, and I believe it'll be on Mondays and Wednesday afternoons. So we probably can't field too many questions about that, but I just wanted you to know that we are helping them get started with a teaching clinic in the geriatric division, and it'll function very much the same way as ours in the family medicine department. We're going to continue attitude assessment. We want to continue to develop educational assessment utilizing the competencies. We are not doing that in our formal family medicine evaluation process, and that's something I want to work on. Other things, we are developing the standardized patient encounter. I already mentioned that we have a small grant for that, and that is going to happen. I think our first standardized patient will be in September. And we're doing pre and post comparison of using a rubric that looks at teamwork and collaboration. And so we're very excited to see how that goes. And then we're going to continue our quality improvement projects. We're working with health information management, and hopefully we'll improve the workflow of the clinic, and eventually we would like to look at health outcomes, perhaps in one of our subset patient populations. And that is all, but not all. We can definitely answer questions